That night, I thought I was just enjoying a free steak dinner. Turns out, I was being served a platter of humiliation hot enough to burn down his entire career and ignite the sweetest revenge. My name is Elena Marsden, and until that fateful evening, I was the product development team lead at Brightcore Dynamics. At 34, I'd clawed my way up from junior developer to heading a team of 12 brilliant minds. I'd sacrificed weekends, relationships, and probably a good chunk of my sanity for that position. But as I sat in that overpriced steakhouse, watching my boss Gordon Brantley swirl his fourth whiskey like it was liquid power, I had no idea I was about to lose everything and gain so much more. The quarterly team bonding dinner was Gordon's idea of corporate culture. Mandatory fun, he called it, though the only thing bonding was his ego to the spotlight. The private dining room at Morton's was packed with 40-something employees, all wearing their best fake smiles and business casual armor. The air reeked of expensive cologne, charred meat, and desperation. I remember checking my phone under the table. 8:47 p.m. Just another hour, maybe 2, and I could escape back to my apartment, kick off these torture devices masquerading as heels, and pretend this night never happened. My team sat scattered around the long table, some engaged in forced small talk, others staring into their drinks like they held the secrets of the universe. "Elena!" Gordon's voice boomed across the room, cutting through the murmur of conversation like a rusty blade. "Stand up. Would you—" My stomach dropped. Nothing good ever came from Gordon singling someone out, especially not when his face was flushed that particular shade of drunk with power red. I pushed back my chair, the scraping sound unnaturally loud in the sudden silence. "Ladies and gentlemen," Gordon announced, gesturing wildly with his tumbler, amber liquid threatening to slosh over the rim. "I want to talk about leadership, real leadership." A few people shifted uncomfortably. Marcus from accounting caught my eye and offered a sympathetic grimace. We all knew where this was heading, another one of Gordon's impromptu lectures where he'd tear someone down to build himself up. I just hadn't expected to be tonight's sacrifice. "You see Elena here?" Gordon continued, his words slightly slurred but his intent crystal clear. "She thinks she's a leader, thinks she knows better than everyone else, better than me, even—" I felt heat creeping up my neck. "Gordon, I don't think this is—" "Don't interrupt me." He slammed his glass down, whiskey splashing onto the white tablecloth like blood on snow. "This is exactly what I'm talking about. No respect, no understanding of hierarchy." The room was tomb silent now. 40 pairs of eyes ping-ponged between Gordon and me, waiting to see who would blink first. My hands trembled slightly, so I clasped them behind my back, channeling every ounce of composure I'd learned in a decade of corporate warfare. "Last week," Gordon went on, warming to his theme, "Elena here presented an idea to the board. The Phoenix Project. She called it, fancy name for a pile of garbage that would have cost us millions." That was a lie. The Phoenix Project was my baby, a revolutionary approach to integrating AI into our existing product line. I'd spent 6 months developing it, countless nights refining the algorithms, building prototypes with my own money when the company wouldn't fund it. The board had loved it. Gordon had killed it. "But that's not even the worst part," he said, now pacing behind his chair like a predator circling prey. "The worst part is she went behind my back, tried to undermine my authority, tried to make me look bad." I bit the inside of my cheek hard enough to taste copper. "Stay calm, Elena. Don't give him the satisfaction." "So I've made a decision." Gordon's smile was shark-like, all teeth and no warmth. "Effective immediately. Elena Marsden is no longer employed by Brightcore Dynamics." The words hit me like a physical blow. Someone gasped. A fork clattered onto a plate. But mostly, there was just that awful, suffocating silence. "You're firing me." My voice came out steadier than I felt. "Here now. In front of everyone." "I'm making an example," Gordon corrected, his satisfaction practically oozing from every pore. "This is what happens when you forget your place, when you bite the hand that feeds you." I looked around the table, searching for an ally, anyone who might speak up, but they all found fascinating things to study in their plates, their drinks, the ceiling anywhere but my face. Even Marcus, who'd grabbed coffee with me every morning for 3 years, wouldn't meet my eyes. The weight of their cowardice pressed down on me like a stone. "Security will escort you out," Gordon added, almost as an afterthought. Your personal items will be mailed to you. Two uniformed guards appeared at the dining room entrance as if summoned by magic. Of course he'd planned this. Every humiliating detail orchestrated for maximum impact. I straightened my spine, lifted my chin, and walked toward the exit with as much dignity as I could muster. My heels clicked against the hardwood floor, each step echoing like a countdown to my professional death. As I passed Gordon, I paused. "You're right about one thing," I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "I do think I know better than you, because I do." His face purpled, but I was already moving, already gone. The security guards flanked me through the restaurant, past curious diners and whispering servers. The cool October air hit my burning face as we emerged onto the sidewalk, and only then did I allow myself to feel the full weight of what had just happened. 10 years of my life, evaporated in a drunken power play. My hands shook as I fumbled for my phone to call an Uber, dropping it twice before managing to open the app. One of the security guards, a younger guy with kind eyes, looked like he wanted to say something but thought better of it. "Ma'am?" a voice behind me, smooth as aged whiskey, but far more pleasant than anything I'd heard tonight. "I believe you might need this." I turned to find a woman in her 50s, immaculately dressed in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than my monthly rent. She held out a tissue, and only then did I realize tears were streaming down my face. "Thank you," I managed, accepting the tissue and dabbing at my ruined makeup. "Clarissa Devlin," she said, extending a business card between manicured fingers. I was dining at the next table, couldn't help but overhear that display. I glanced at the card. Clarissa Devlin, CEO, Verity Labs. My heart stuttered. Verity Labs was Brightcore's biggest competitor, the thorn in Gordon's side he ranted about at every opportunity. "I know who you are," I said carefully. Her smile was enigmatic. "And I know who you are, Elena Marsden. I've been following your work for some time. That Phoenix project, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. How do you—" "We make it our business to know what our competitors are up to," she said, "especially when they're foolish enough to bury innovation because of ego." The Uber pulled up to the curb, but I hesitated. "We appreciate talent at Verity Labs," Clarissa continued. "Particularly talent that's been undervalued and discarded by lesser minds. My direct line is on that card. I do hope you'll use it." She turned and walked back into the restaurant before I could respond, leaving me standing on the sidewalk with mascara-stained cheeks and a business card that felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. The ride home was a blur of city lights and racing thoughts. By the time I stumbled into my apartment, the shock was wearing off, replaced by a cocktail of rage, humiliation, and something else, something that tasted like opportunity. I poured myself a generous glass of wine and stared at Clarissa's business card. Verity Labs, Gordon's nemesis, the company he blamed for every setback, every lost contract, every shareholder complaint. The irony was delicious enough to cut through the bitter taste of betrayal. But could I do it? Could I really jump ship to the enemy? The corporate world was incestuous enough that word would spread. I'd be branded a traitor, a turncoat. Then again, what reputation did I have left to protect Gordon had made sure of that with his little public execution. I thought about the Phoenix project, all those months of work sitting in my personal files because Gordon couldn't stand the idea that someone beneath him might have a revolutionary idea. I thought about my team, how they'd sat there in silence while I was ritually humiliated. I thought about 10 years of overtime, of missed birthdays, and canceled vacations, all in service to a company that had discarded me like week-old sushi. The wine burned pleasant and warm down my throat as I made my decision. I picked up my phone and dialed the number on the card before I could talk myself out of it. "Clarissa Devlin," she answered on the second ring, sounding unsurprised to hear from me. "This is Elena Marsden," I said. "I'd like to discuss that opportunity." "Wonderful. Can you meet tomorrow, say 10 a.m.? I'll text you the address." "Yes." The word came out firm, decisive. "I'll be there." "Excellent. Oh, and Elena, bring everything you have on the Phoenix project. I have a feeling we're going to do extraordinary things together." I hung up and poured another glass of wine, raising it in a mock toast to the empty apartment. "Here's to burning bridges," I said aloud, "and lighting new fires with the ashes." Sleep didn't come easily that night. I lay in bed replaying the scene at Morton's, each detail etched in painful clarity. The way Gordon's secretary had smirked, the way my supposed friends had averted their eyes, the way the security guards had walked just a little too close, like I might steal something on my way out. But more than that, I kept thinking about Clarissa Devlin. She'd been at the next table, close enough to hear everything. Had it been coincidence, or had she known what was coming? The timing felt too perfect, her appearance too convenient. But did it matter? Gordon had declared war in the most public way possible. If Clarissa wanted to arm me for the battle ahead, who was I to refuse? Morning came too soon, and not soon enough. I dressed carefully, choosing my best suit, a deep navy number I'd bought for board presentations. If I was going to switch sides, I'd do it looking like the professional Gordon had tried to paint me as not being. The Verity Labs building was everything Brightcore's wasn't, where our offices were all glass and chrome, cold and impersonal. Verity Labs occupied a converted warehouse in the Arts District. The lobby featured exposed brick, living walls of greenery, and actual art from local artists. It felt creative, alive, like a place where innovation was celebrated rather than strangled. Ms. Marsden, a young man with a genuine smile, greeted me at reception. Ms. Devlin is expecting you, top floor. Her assistant will meet you at the elevator. The elevator ride gave me time for second thoughts, third thoughts, and a few fourth ones. But when the doors opened to reveal Clarissa's office, a stunning space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, my doubts evaporated. Elena, Clarissa rose from behind a desk that looked more like an art installation than office furniture. Thank you for coming. Coffee, tea. Something stronger. Coffee would be great. I needed the caffeine. I'd barely slept. She poured from a French press, the rich aroma filling the space between us. I imagine you have questions. A few, I admitted, accepting the mug gratefully. Starting with, were you there on purpose last night? Clarissa's laugh was rich and genuine. Straight to the point. I like that. No, I wasn't there for you specifically. I was meeting with investors. The universe simply has an excellent sense of timing sometimes. And you want to hire me because you're brilliant, she said simply. Because your Phoenix project is exactly the kind of innovation this industry needs. And because Gordon Brantley is a dinosaur who wouldn't recognize genius if it bit him on his overpriced suit. I nearly choked on my coffee. You don't mince words. I don't have time to. She leaned back in her chair, studying me with eyes that missed nothing. Let me be frank. Elena, I've been watching Brightcore's implosion for months. Gordon's been making increasingly desperate decisions, alienating talent, suppressing innovation. Last night's display was just the latest symptom of a dying corporate culture. And you want to capitalize on that. I want to win, she corrected, but I want to win by being better, not just by watching them fail. That's where you come in. She stood and walked to the windows, gesturing for me to join her. The city sprawled below us, all possibility and promise. I know about the Phoenix project because one of your team members, someone with more loyalty to innovation than to Gordon, shared some details at a conference. Nothing proprietary, she added quickly, seeing my expression. Just enough to know it was exactly what we've been trying to develop internally. Who? I asked, though I had a suspicion. Marcus Chen. He's quite fond of you. By the way, called me last night after the dinner. Said I'd be an idiot not to hire you immediately. Marcus, my coffee buddy, who couldn't meet my eyes last night but had apparently been working behind the scenes. The corporate world was full of these small betrayals and secret kindnesses. What exactly are you offering? I asked. Director of Strategic Product Development, Clarissa said without hesitation. Reporting directly to me, full autonomy to build your team, develop the Phoenix project, and anything else that brilliant mind of yours conceives. Salary 20% above what Gordon was paying you, plus equity options that'll make you wealthy when we go public next year. My head spun. It was more than I'd dared hope for, more than I'd earned in 10 years of grinding loyalty at Brightcore. There's one more thing, Clarissa added, her tone shifting to something sharper. I won't lie to you. Elena, part of your value is what you know about Brightcore, their plans, their weaknesses, their vulnerabilities. I won't ask you to violate any NDAs or share proprietary information, but your insights into their corporate culture, Their decision-making processes, those would be invaluable. And there it was. The catch I'd been waiting for. She wasn't just hiring me, she was recruiting me for corporate warfare. "You want me to help you destroy them," I said. "I want you to help us be better than them," she corrected. "If they destroy themselves in the process, well," she shrugged eloquently. I thought about Gordon's smug face, about 10 years of ideas shot down, credit stolen, advancement blocked. I thought about the Phoenix Project, gathering dust because one man's ego couldn't handle someone else's brilliance. "When do I start?" I asked. Clarissa's smile was brilliant. "How does Monday sound that gives you a few days to decompress, and our legal team time to prepare your contract?" "Monday's perfect." We shook hands, her grip firm and confident. As I turned to leave, she called after me. "Elena. Welcome to Verity Labs. I have a feeling this is the beginning of something extraordinary." The weekend passed in a blur of wine, Netflix, and ignoring increasingly frantic texts from former colleagues. News of my dramatic firing had spread through the industry grapevine at light speed. Some messages were sympathetic, others gossipy, a few genuinely supportive. I responded to none of them. Let them wonder. Let them speculate. Monday morning, I arrived at Verity Labs to find a corner office with my name already on the door. Inside, a state-of-the-art workstation, a small sitting area, and a breathtaking view of the city. A handwritten note from Clarissa sat on the desk. "Everything you need to fly. C. Ms. Marsden." A young woman knocked on my open door. "I'm Sarah, your executive assistant. Can I get you anything? Coffee tour of the facilities." An executive assistant. After years of fighting for basic resources at Brightcore, I had an executive assistant. Coffee would be wonderful. Sarah. And yes, I'd love a tour. The tour revealed a company that was everything Brightcore pretended to be. The development labs were cutting edge, the break rooms actually comfortable, the employees genuinely engaged rather than just present. Every introduction came with a variation of, "We're so excited to have you here," or "Can't wait to see what you do with Phoenix." By lunch, I'd met my new team, 8 developers who'd been working on similar concepts but hitting walls. They were young, hungry, and refreshingly free of the political BS that had poisoned Brightcore's culture. "So," said James, my lead developer, as we gathered in a conference room that looked more like a trendy cafe, "we've all heard whispers about Phoenix. Care to blow our minds?" I smiled, pulling up the presentations I'd perfected in secret for months. "Buckle up." For the next 2 hours, I laid out my vision. An AI integration system that didn't just add features but fundamentally transformed how users interacted with technology. Predictive, adaptive, intuitive, the kind of breakthrough that redefined markets. The questions came fast and excited, ideas building on ideas. This was what I'd missed at Brightcore, the pure joy of innovation without ego or politics getting in the way. "Holy shit," breathed Amit, one of the senior developers. "Sorry, I mean, holy shit." "That's the appropriate response," I laughed. "Gordon Brantley killed this," James asked, incredulous. "Is he insane?" "Insane with power, maybe," I said. "But that's not our problem anymore. Our problem is how fast we can build this." The energy in the room was electric. We broke into groups, mapping out development streams, discussing technical challenges, debating implementation strategies. This was what I'd always dreamed work could be: collaborative, exciting, meaningful. We were deep in discussion about neural network architecture when Clarissa appeared in the doorway. "Don't let me interrupt," she said, but her smile told me she was pleased with what she saw. "Elena, when you have a moment." I followed her to her office, still buzzing from the team meeting. "Good first day?" she asked. "Incredible, the team is fantastic." "They're motivated," she agreed, "especially now that they have real leadership, but I need to share something with you. Gordon's already making moves." She handed me a tablet showing an industry news site. The headline made my blood boil. "Brightcore announces revolutionary AI integration platform project Prometheus set to transform industry." I read quickly, my anger building with each paragraph. Project Prometheus was Phoenix with a different name and Gordon's fingerprints all over it. They'd taken my work, my vision, and were rushing to market with it. "The bastard," I breathed. "He stole it. He fired me and stole my project. Technically, anything you developed while at Brightcore belongs to them, Clarissa said carefully. But this gives us an interesting opportunity. I looked up from the tablet. How so? Because I happen to know they don't have your latest work. What they're announcing is based on your early proposals, not the refined system you just presented to your team. They're going to market with a half-baked version of your vision. And we have the real thing. Exactly. But we need to move fast. How quickly can your team have a working prototype? I thought rapidly. Give me 6 weeks for basic functionality, 3 months for something market-ready. You have 4 weeks for the prototype, 6 for market-ready. Whatever resources you need, they're yours. That's aggressive, I said. It's necessary. Gordon just declared war. Time to show him what a mistake that was. I left her office with a fire in my belly that had nothing to do with the excellent coffee. Gordon thought he could humiliate me, steal my work, and walk away victorious. He was about to learn that revenge, like the Phoenix Project itself, was best served smart. The next 4 weeks were a blur of 18-hour days, endless coffee, and the kind of focused intensity I hadn't felt in years. My team rose to the challenge magnificently, each member bringing skills and insights that elevated the project beyond even my original vision. But we weren't working in a vacuum. Gordon's PR machine was in overdrive, hyping Project Prometheus with press releases, leaked demos, and carefully orchestrated media appearances. Each announcement was a dagger, seeing my ideas filtered through his mediocre understanding and presented as his innovation. Elena, you need to see this, Sarah said one morning, handing me a cup of coffee and a concerned expression. The email was from an unknown address, but the message was clear. Stop what you're doing, or things will get unpleasant. You've been warned. Charming, I muttered. Forward this to legal and security, will you? But the intimidation didn't stop there. My LinkedIn was flooded with connection requests from obvious fake accounts. My personal email was suddenly subscribed to hundreds of spam lists. Someone tried to hack my banking accounts. It was amateur hour stuff, but annoying. They're scared, Clarissa said when I updated her. Good. Scared people make mistakes. She was right. The leaked demos of Project Prometheus showed exactly what I'd expected: a surface-level implementation that missed the core innovation. They'd built a house without understanding the foundation. 3.5 weeks into our sprint, we had our breakthrough. James burst into my office at 11 p.m., laptop in hand, eyes wild with excitement. Elena, we did it. Watch this. He pulled up our test environment and demonstrated the prototype. It was rough, sure, but the core functionality was there and it was beautiful. The AI didn't just respond to commands. It anticipated needs, learned patterns, evolved with use. It was everything I'd envisioned and more. This is it, I breathed. This is really it. The team's still in the lab. Should I tell them to go home and get some sleep? Are you kidding? Break out the champagne? We're celebrating. The celebration was short-lived. The next morning, Clarissa called an emergency meeting. We have a problem, she announced. There's a mole. My stomach dropped. What? Someone's been feeding information to Brightcore. They know about our progress, our timeline, even some technical specifications. It traced unauthorized access from inside our network. The room erupted in accusations and denials. Trust, so carefully built over the past weeks, threatened to crumble. Stop, I said, standing. This is exactly what they want. To divide us, slow us down, make us suspicious of each other. Then what do you suggest? Amit asked. I looked around the room at my team. These brilliant people who'd worked themselves to exhaustion for our shared vision. We set a trap. The plan was simple. I created 3 different versions of false technical documentation, each with unique markers that would identify the source if leaked. Each team member received a slightly different version through our secure channels. Then we waited. It took 2 days. Clarissa called me to her office, her expression grim but satisfied. We found our mole, she said, sliding a printout across her desk. It was a technical analysis posted on an anonymous industry forum, containing specifications that matched one of our false documents exactly. The markers pointed to David, one of our junior developers, young, talented, and apparently buyable. He's in conference room 3, Clarissa said, Security is standing by. How do you want to handle this? I thought about Gordon's public humiliation, the way he'd used shame as a weapon. Quietly, I decided. We're better than they are. David was pale and sweating when I entered the conference room. He knew he'd been caught. I'm sorry, he started. They offered so much money. And my student loans. Stop, I said, sitting across from him. I don't want excuses. I want information. What did you tell them? The story spilled out. Gordon had personally recruited him, offering to pay off his 6-figure student debt in exchange for information. David had shared our progress updates, team structures, but crucially, not our actual code or detailed specifications. Did you share the trap documents? I asked. He nodded miserably. Yesterday, they were so excited, said it confirmed their suspicions about your approach. Perfect. Let them chase false leads while we refine the real thing. You're done here, I said. Security will escort you out, but David, we're not pressing charges, and we won't blacklist you in the industry. Consider it a very expensive lesson in choosing the right side. He looked stunned. Why? Because I'm not Gordon Brantley, I said simply. Now get out. With the mole removed and Brightcore chasing false intelligence, we accelerated our timeline. The prototype was refined, tested, refined again. We brought in beta users who raved about the intuitive interface, the predictive capabilities, the seamless integration. 6 weeks to the day after starting, we were ready. The Global Tech Innovation Summit, Clarissa announced at our strategy meeting, 3 weeks away, the perfect venue to unveil Phoenix 2.0. Brightcore will be there, I pointed out. They're keynoting with their Prometheus announcement. I'm counting on it, she smiled. In fact, we'll be presenting right after them. The contrast will be educational. The weeks leading to the summit were a masterclass in strategic warfare. Clarissa worked her media contacts, building buzz about Verity Labs' next-generation AI platform without revealing details. Meanwhile, Gordon's team continued their hype campaign, making increasingly grandiose claims about Prometheus. I received more threatening messages, each more desperate than the last. My favorite was a voicemail from Gordon himself, whiskey-slurred and rage-filled. You think you're clever, you backstabbing bitch. You're nothing without me, nothing I made you, and I'll destroy you. I saved that one, for motivation. The night before the summit, I couldn't sleep. Everything we'd worked for came down to tomorrow's presentation. Phoenix 2.0 was brilliant, revolutionary even, but would it be enough to expose Gordon's theft and establish Verity Labs as the innovation